All right, good morning, everyone. I'm going to get into these charts, figure out what's going on today. It took me a little bit longer this morning to get a good read on the market. I'm expecting a small bounce essentially, and I was watching the markets, looking for that bounce. We're starting to get that resolution now. So I want to point out kind of what I'm looking at doing and what I see in the markets. We'll start out with triple Qs here. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to bounce up to this gap, this former gap right up here, which is about 278.09. So I'm watching for that level. I'm actually long triple Qs, and I'm looking to cover my long up here around this 278. Most likely I'm going to flip short again up at that level, and we'll see where that goes. Now we could, the bounce that we could do, we could bounce all the way up here to this like 280, 50-ish level, or somewhere, this descending trend line. We could bounce all the way up to that descending trend line. I don't think we're going to break out of it. I don't see anything that tells me we're going to break out and break higher. Looking here at the daily chart, we don't have, there's no bullish divergence. Let me get rid of these lines right here. There's no bullish divergence or anything. It's just momentum is moving down, price is moving down on the daily. So I don't think we're going to, break out, have any kind of a breakout. I don't see that in the charts. On the 1 hour, I don't see any bullish divergence really. I see just continued downward momentum. So I think this is a dead cat bounce. I think we're just getting a little bounce and then we're going to roll back over. So watch for it. If they step in early and you can't even get up to this 278 and they step in a little early, that's another sign that there's a bunch of sellers like myself waiting to short up at that area, and we're all trying to front run each other. If we break down and we start to sell off, I really do think, this level down here at 264, somewhere right in there is, the next level of support. We'll probably get a decent reaction there, maybe a consolidation for a little while. Okay, so that's the triple Qs. SPY, and I'm not a SPY trader. I don't trade SPY. Sometimes I'll trade it, but usually I prefer, if I think there's market direction or a trend taking place, I usually look for the higher beta indices such as small caps or tech. But, sometimes I'll trade SPY if it's working. Right now, SPY, your gap, really is right. I think it's right up here around 331. A bounce back up to that level. That would be pretty congruent with the triple Qs gap that I pointed out there, or the level that it looks like it wants to roll up to. So I'm thinking 331. It could go a little higher, even up to maybe 335. SPY is not as clear as the Qs right now. The Qs has a little bit better of a chart, but you do have a downtrend right there, and so a roll up into this gap, maybe the midpoint, somewhere in the middle of it, and the upper end bounce is probably somewhere around 338 or possibly to this downtrend line. So watch for that. Again, I don't see bullish divergence. Sorry on triple Qs if I said negative divergence. I don't see any bullish divergence telling me that this is going to rally too much. On the hourly chart, it's not there. And if I look at the daily, yeah, it's not there on the daily either. So negative momentum is what I'm seeing. And this just looks like a dead cat bounce in SPY as well. IWM. So IWM, IWM is just, you've got kind of sideways price action is what I'm seeing here on IWM. On the hourly, no bullish divergence either on the hourly. So again, same kind of deal. We could kick up into this resistance. This one, I think they'll probably stop right about here. Right there at about 156.56. And then IWM, I believe, is going to head down towards the bottom of the range around 145.33. One thing I want to point out, the dollar, it's getting stronger. You can see here, dollars moving higher. Now, on the hourly, obviously, nice bull flag there really too. You can see the flag. There's your flagpole. There's your flag. And then what you do is you take the flagpole, measure it out. So it looks like we got a little bit more to go in the dollar, a little bit more strength. But the dollar is looking strong on the hourly. If I look at the daily here, and also just to point out, you had bullish, you know, the momentum's bullish. I'm looking for bullish divergence is what I'm looking for. I don't I don't see any bullish divergence. I see momentum is bullish and price is bullish. I don't see momentum I don't see that where the pivot point was. Sorry to jumble my words, but I don't see where it was trying to pivot. Yeah, I just see negative momentum, negative price, and then momentum turned bullish, price turned bullish. So there was no divergence there on the hourly. Looking at the daily, same thing, bullish right there. And yeah, just basically kind of sideways action. But in general, still looks bullish to me. You know, I still see bullish action. We did have bullish divergence right in here. This area right here on the daily was bullish, was a bullish divergence on the daily chart. You can see the momentum was moving higher while price continued to make lower lows. So momentum was diverging from price, and then that signals that a trend change is likely. And maybe we're starting to see that now, because you can see we're starting to make kind of higher lows. You know, we've got a higher low here, a higher low here, or an equal low essentially. We need to break up and make a new high. So looks like it's trying to do that, but it's again in this big sideways consolidation range. Gold continues to sell off and show weakness. Just every day it continues to tell me that it's weak. So I don't see any strength in gold right now. Slight divergence there on the hourly chart. You can see we made a lower price while momentum is making a new higher price. Let's check out the daily here. You know, if we drop soon, we might be able to have a bullish divergence on gold, but it's not there yet. So that's just speculation. Ultimately, I think we're still going to grind our way lower down to 1790. XLV, second largest index in the S&P 500. So it's important to watch because it has weighting in terms of S&P 500. You can see selling off again. Came right down to support. This is our second tag of this 101 area. I think this breaks. I don't know if it'll break today. We might consolidate today. But ultimately, I think this breaks. We head down to 97. XLF, yeah, more sideways action for the most part. This is just kind of range bound right now. You can see this big sideways trading area. Until we break out of this, we're going to just continue to chop around. It's not that interesting to me at this moment. Here's a different look at the tech sector. XLK, daily chart. We've got, you know, negative momentum on the daily chart. So I'd expect continued negative price action on the daily chart as well. Hourly, negative momentum on the hourly. I'd expect continued negative momentum on the hourly as well. So same thing. This looks like just a temporary minor bounce that we're getting, and it's going to roll over. That's what I'm anticipating. Okay, so across the board, most of the tech stocks are you know, they have negative momentum, and there's negative price action with just a little bit of bounce. I'm seeing bounces in Adobe and Nvidia. I'm seeing just kind of these minor bounces across the board. So I'm not going to cover those in this video. I do want to cover Zoom here. I've got a lot of trend lines going on and charting I've been doing, but I mentioned that I went short this yesterday. I added to the short this morning, right at the open. I saw that it looked pretty good for continued downward price action. Here's what we had. We had this flag right here. So I've got a flagpole. We've got a flag, and the measured target puts us right in that area where I'm thinking that we're heading, which is this trend line. Here's the trend line right there, this upper trend line, and I think we're heading down towards that trend line. Going to hit that trend line, and we'll chop around a little bit there, I believe. Right now, I'm anticipating it maybe kind of grinds just slightly higher, and then we get kind of the rollover, but it could just roll over. Ultimately, I still think we're heading down towards this 477 area. We'll probably consolidate there a little bit, maybe get some sort of a reaction, but I think that's going to break, because if you look at the daily chart, you've got a big negative bearish divergence that's been in place really since back here in September, late September. So that tells me that trend is going to change, and I just need to see the trend break right here. If you get a trend line break, it's probably going to be a pretty impulsive drop down. We'll probably come and fill this gap at 325. That would be, that would be my first profit target, I think, on this thing, which is probably a move of about 34%. So just an idea there. Again, everything in this video is just my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor. So full disclaimer, seek financial advice from a financial advisor. What else do I like? XOM looks okay for the long trade, anybody that's looking for a long. Now, the market is, looks weak to me, so things get sold even when they have bullish setups. So, sometimes they don't work out. These setups don't always work out, and that's why it's important to be able to manage your risk, place stops, etc. Now, you can see here, though, on the daily chart on XOM, we have bullish divergence that we've built. We did just slightly get a little cross on you can see the PPO. This kind of tells me, this PPO tells me sometimes whether this move is, whether this divergence is kind of finished and price is now going to start moving up. I look for the cross right here. When it crosses over, that often tells me that the price is now going to start reacting to the divergence that's in place. And, we have a little cross down, so it might not be over. We might want to continue to diverge, making slightly lower prices while the momentum continues to, go slightly higher. But still looks like it's, still looks like it's going to backtest this broken trend line and then move higher. So I am expecting 41 on XOM once the price turns, and it could be starting today, or this could just be a little bounce and we get another sell-off running down to maybe this $30 area. I'll probably be adding to my position around there. Carvana still looks bearish. The stay-at-home stocks look bearish, the COVID stocks basically, but Carvana, I think the momentum's really starting to come out of these things is that's my gut feeling on these when I'm looking across a lot of these different ones. They all are showing pretty weak price action, so just in general, they look bearish. But Carvana, you can see impulsive selling. I think, again, we're going to fill this gap, and we're going to do it in short order. And gap, in case you're new, the gap's at 173.86. Etsy. So what I did is when we had this kickback rally up here, I bought back I shorted my Etsy position again. I only did a half position that time because I had already had a full position all the way down here. So I reshorted it with a half position. Saw it plunge right down to this next support level all the way down here at 128.43, and I covered this morning as it fell right down. It stopped a little short, and I saw that it was stopping. I covered it right there. So I don't own this right now, and we got the reaction off that level. I've had these levels drawn out for a while, so we get the reaction. We're bouncing up. This one, I've done pretty well on this one, so I might just move on. It'll probably, I think a lot of the good trade has already been made, at least to the short side for right now. Peloton selling off again. Looks to me like it's heading down. If we go to the daily chart, it's heading down to this trend line. I could probably tighten my trend line up slightly. Yeah, I need to kind of adjust that. It might be slightly higher, maybe right about there. And so this one, Yeah, I think it's somewhere right in there. So this one looks like it's going to head down to the trend line. We'll probably get some sort of a consolidation reaction there. And then I think ultimately we, I don't know, we might bounce to new highs there. We don't have daily negative divergence. There was no negative divergence on the daily chart. You don't always need it for an impulsive sell-off, but it helps to have it. So for me, I'm probably just going to look at closing my trade if or when we get down to this trend line. I'll probably cover it. And McDonald's MCD. So we came right down to support right there at 213.58. That's the level that I had marked out well in advance. So I'm looking for it to kick back and bounce up to this 220.77. I don't know if we'll get that, but if it does, that's where I'm looking to re-short this this stock. I covered all my MCD down here at support, looking to re-short up here, and then from there it obviously could do a full kickback rally, or could roll over down to the next level of support, 202.78. The big negative divergence that we had in place tells me that kickback rallies will be sold into. So once you have when you have negative momentum, you've broken bullish trend, and you're now set up for downward price action, rallies get sold into. So it's a sell the rip moment, and this would be the first level of resistance. That's the area that I'd be looking to short at. And that's all I got, everyone. That's kind of my read on the market today. So thank you. Catch you on the next one.